One Christmas Eve. Once upon a time, there was a little boy who thought that Santa Claus must be the kindest and jolliest person in all the world. When John remembered all the thousands of stockings Santa Claus had filled, all the thousands of sooty chimneys he had climbed down, and the many times he'd gone back to his castle, cold and tired, out late on Christmas Eve, he wondered and wondered if there was anyone to welcome Santa back, whether his slippers had been put out to warm, and if anyone waited up at the castle to ask him how he had got on. Now John lived not far from the hill on which Santa Claus had his castle, so the little boy was lucky enough to see him sometimes, and say good morning very shyly. As Christmas came near one year, a plan came into John's mind. Santa was always giving other people surprises, and it was quite time he had one himself. So on Christmas Eve, after he'd been put to bed, John got up again and dressed himself. He slipped out of doors and ran to the hill where Santa's castle stood, gleaming in the moonlight. In his hand he carried a big parcel. When he came to the castle, he saw that the door was open, and he knew that Santa Claus had left with his reindeer to fill all of the stockings. John slipped into the castle. He went upstairs and found Santa's bedroom. It was cold and draughty. The little boy shut the windows and put a match to the fire. Soon it was roaring up the chimney. John piled logs onto it, and then he looked round for Santa Claus's slippers. He put them on the fender to warm, found a kettle and put it on to boil, and placed on a little table a tin of cocoa he had brought and some milk. Then quickly he found a large stocking and hung it at the end of the bed. Into it he put a large-sized pipe, a packet of tobacco, an enormous white handkerchief, and a very large pair of woolly gloves that he'd asked his mother to knit for him. Then out he crept again, smiling all over his kind little face. Now that night Santa Claus had a very hard time. One of his reindeer had gone lame, so he couldn't go as quickly as he wanted to. He had stuck fast in 2 chimneys and made himself very sooty before he managed to get out. He had dropped one of his gloves somewhere, so his right hand was as cold as ice and ached badly. In fact, altogether he was feeling rather miserable. And then, oh dear me, he couldn't get a large rocking horse down a chimney, and he had to go and knock at the door and give it to the surprised mother, a thing that he always hated to do. When he got home to his castle, he was grumbling away to himself.
"What's the sense of doing this every year? I'm an old man now. Why should I bother to go out like this on a winter's night, taking a heavy sack of toys with me for children who never even think of writing a thank-you letter? Lots of them! It's the last time I'll do it, a very, very last time."
And then he saw his big, beautiful fire, and his warm slippers, and the cocoa standing ready to be made, and his lovely fat stocking full of just the things he wanted.
"Some child has been here," he said. "Would you believe it? Well, well, well. To think how I've been grumbling tonight. I'm ashamed of myself. Really I am. I shall never stop being Santa Claus. Never. So long as there are children in the world. Just look what one has done for me. What a generous little soul."
And my dears, ever since then, Santa Claus has been about as usual at Christmas time. Now, wasn't it lucky that John gave him a surprise that Christmas Eve?